Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Yvonne here from My Halal Kitchen, and I'm here tonight with my very special guest and friend, Susan Labadi. Assalamu alaikum, Sue.
Wa alaikum salam, Yvonne. Happy reunion!
Yay! It's been a long time since we've seen each other in person. Sue and I go way, way, way back. We are really good friends and halal industry colleagues. That's how we met. When was the last time we saw each other? Right before I went to Turkey, right?
Yeah. But we've known each other for like 11 years now, I think.
Right. And you gave me a really nice going away dinner where you made that awesome Palestinian dish with the meat and the yogurt and the pita on the bottom. Do you remember? It was so delicious.
We had so many things on the table. I think we're talking about Fatat Beit and Jan. Fatat Beit and Jan was like,
yeah,
that was delicious.
Because of COVID, we haven't seen each other, so
yeah,
we kept in touch the whole time. So, alhamdulillah. So today, so since I've been gone out of Chicago, you've been doing a lot of really interesting things related to mindfulness and stress-free living, but it's not something new really for you, because as long as I've known you, you've been top of mind about exercise and clearing the mind and, just de-stressing. And, we're part of a mastermind group together with a lot of busy business women, and you're always the one to kind of keep the calm. And I love that. So why don't we tell everybody first off how we met and what's our background together, and then we can take them on the journey about you. You can do that. So what do you remember of?
I'll start it off that I, for 10 years, was working in Islamic education as a teacher, which I have in common with you as well, and an administrator. And after being with my school as a parent for 13 years with my 4 kids, and then as an employee of the school for 10 years, I just burnt out. I popped out. I said, I'm done. That's it. I was just about to get into my 50s at that time. And I was hyper aware that my own mom had passed away from Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, and she was only 54 when that happened. So I felt that I really shouldn't be living such a stressful life as working as an administrator and teacher at a school will be like for you. Plus juggling 4 kids, got my master's degree and all of that, just crazy busy.
Teaching is it's like going to school yourself in a way.
Huge. All of it, and even my own sister said, it's like you were like a chicken with your head chopped off. You were like constantly going because you were so amped all the time. I would wake up after staying up too late at night in the morning and just say, Ya Allah, all power and glory is yours. And please get me through this day, every single day. And so after I'd left that was in July, the following May, I was shopping for my halal crescent chicken, and it turned out that the owner of the company, Mr. Ahmed Adam, was in the store, and he knew me because his daughter and his wife had also been at that school, and he'd seen me with my work, and he said, "Sister, I need your help in something." I'm like, "Brother, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing any of the work. I really just, I'm trying to make salad again and like bake desserts and be at home for a little bit.
Be a wife, yeah."
He said, honestly, I have this organization. I'm busy with my company, but I've started the American Halal Association, and it's a non-for-profit, and we want to improve the integrity of halal in North America. And I need your help because the ISNA conference is coming up, and I need to put a magazine together. I'd never made a magazine before, but he said, don't worry, I've got these wonderful people that work with me, and they can help you. So I said, part-time, okay. And that began about more than 10 years, I would say, working with the American Halal Association in working their social media and learning about the entire universe of all halal industries. And mashallah, that is where I met you.
Yeah,
so I think take it from there.
Yeah, I think it was when I also just started working with Crescent Foods on recipe development. We hadn't started yet, but we were just getting to know each other, and it was such a new thing for all of us, because we were all sort of the, I would say, pioneers in the halal space in Chicago in a way. We were kind of all trying to figure out how to really make the term halal, just so like a common household name, put it in grocery stores and signs just like kosher. We were really intent on that right from the beginning. We all had that in mind, but we brought together different areas of expertise. And I know when I saw the Crescent chicken in the store, I was so excited because they were actually packaged and packaged beautifully. And although I loved getting the chicken elsewhere, but it was just sort of difficult. And you know, it was nice to just go to the grocery store and find the chicken. And that's where Mr. Adam met you, right? So I started doing recipes for Crescent Foods, and we met at a meeting at the office, right?
And we had wonderful colleagues that educated me also that, you know, every soap that you use, that's probably like mainstream soaps, they've got, you know, elements of pork in them. And there are so many, there's lotions that you put on your skin. A lot of the ingredients and cosmetics are derived from pigs. And it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I had on the same page. Toothpaste, you know, there is a lot that I was never aware of, even in manufacturing, the lubricants they use, the cleansers that they use. There's potential for contamination in a lot of the things. So we had that in common because we're both also into this healthy, halal lifestyle.
Healthy and doing our research. And so we started seeing each other at all the same food science conferences. And
we went to the farm, right? We went to the farm.
We went to Crescent's farm.
We saw how those chickens were treated so that when we talked with people, we could say that we saw with our own eyes that they were treated nicely. I mean, if you have to go, it's the way to go, you know? And we saw them as chicks in the houses, and we saw them all the way through the end of their processing, the people that work there. So I think we both felt very good about that particular product line. And that gave us sort of the gold standard for looking at other companies and what they had to offer. And we also went to Organic Valley.
Yes, and then years later, we went to Organic Valley together in Wisconsin, and that was a early morning drive, beautiful drive up to the farm, and what a fantastic day that was, wasn't it? We still talk about, we take some really good trips together, I think.
We got some really good food at our trips too. The Driftless Cafe up in Viroka. Oh my gosh.
Driftwood Cafe. Was it Driftwood?
Driftless Cafe. The area is called Driftless.
Yes, and the cheese plate that the chef brought out was fantastic, right? We had really good food.
And we met Teresa Marquez. She was just a pioneer in the organic field that we were so lucky to have that time with her.
Yes, a very emotional conversation with her, right? About the effects of organic or non-organic pollution in the waters and
atrazine, the chemicals, the children, the mother's milk that's being affected. We got a huge education on that trip.
I think perhaps our background as both of us as teachers, we really both believe in, learning and teaching.
We're nerds. Yeah, but we have to share it.
Nerds unite. Well, nerds who really, people told us many times, why are you guys still in that halal thing? What are you guys still doing? And we were just, always taught, we had this conversation 1,000,001 times about, why we stay with it and why we love it so much, because it truly means so much to us. And you have done a fantastic job, I must say. I have felt like you were my friend, my sister, my colleague, my supporter, my PR person. You have been just that person who has done a lot of promotion for not just me, but for example, Samir, who's Samir Sarmast of Samir's Eats. We were kind of a crew as well who were doing videos and so on and food shows. But all of us in the halal space, you have been this constant factor to say, hey, you guys are doing these great things, giving us ideas all the time to do more, and then taking whatever we're doing and retweeting and sharing. And, I always find that you are the one person who's always doing that, not just for me, but for so many people. So I want you to tell everyone, what is your MO there? Like, why? Because you have a beautiful big family. You have a grandbaby, another one on the way, mashallah. It seems to me that everything you do is for a greater purpose, but I want you to put it in your own words. I want other people to see what
Sure. I'll put it in a very succinct way. I am truly blessed. I was so blessed to meet wonderful people in the education field. Mm-hmm. I was so blessed to meet wonderful people working in the halal industries. Oh, and we're talking globally here too.
Yes.
Allah has given me just the most beautiful people to to meet. And then what I do is I just try to connect. I see one person, you know, in one particular industry, they need the help from somebody else. I'm like, hey, talk to so-and-so, use my name. It's okay, you know, because I know they're good people, but they just need to have somebody to put them together. So I've kind of been in the wings, you know, staying in the background of things. But I mean, it really originally started, and I get emotional, I think, when I think about it, especially as we're coming up on Ramadan, that, you know, because I'm always telling you, you know, family first, family first. They are the most precious, dearest thing to me. Because for the first 7 years of my marriage, I didn't have any kids. And we had, you know, like, it seemed like fertility issues. And it wasn't until we went to visit my brother-in-law, who was living in Saudi Arabia with his 7 children and his wife, that my father-in-law, my sister-in-law, my husband, all of them, we got into a GMC and we made Umrah. And by the time I went to Jerusalem then to visit the rest of the family, I was pregnant. And that was the beginning of then 4 kids.
Wow.
So, you know,
I knew the story, but I didn't know those details. I didn't know that.
We really suffered and prayed our brains out and made so much dua. But it was Umrah and sincere dua that made things happen, I think. And so I consider my children, my family, an amana. The people that I meet, they're an amana, and you're in that group also. So
thank you.
You know, we're all put here for a reason. And it's like, you know, how do we earn our rent, you know, on our life that we have each day? To be happy is not really to be focused on, oh, how do I find happiness? It's really about, how can I serve? And granted, like working with the Islamic education, you know, even working with the halal industry, we get depleted at times, you know.
Yeah. Can I take a pause for a second? Because you said something really important. And I've been thinking a lot about you ever since we planned to do this, and also some other things we were doing together. And one of the things when I will look back on our friendship and I think about the things you've taught me, I think that we've always been involved in business together. We've always tried to do something, or we supported each other, or you send me a podcast and I send you a link and we're, you know, hey, listen to this. This is really great and motivational. Or, you know, hey, we got to get, you know, get this project going, you know, it's good for our future and things like that. But the focus has never been money.
No.
It's never been. And I, you know, of all people I work with and do business with, I think you have been the one constant where it's just been about, you know, being able to live life on your terms. And for us, that's living our life Islamically, that's being able to practice our deen. And so financial freedom is part of that area of like, hey, if we can just do things on our terms, and we can just be more free in our religious lives as well, you know, like travel when we want, pray when we want, you know, well, according to the correct times, but you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's always been something really important to us. But one thing you always taught me was that consistent notion that, you know, it wasn't ever about the money. It was always just about that time with your family. I know you are very particular about spending quality time with your family. And you are also one of the most charitable people that I know. Because you don't say it, but I always see, you know, you either giving something to somebody or asking others to do the same, or sharing ways that we can share our wealth. And, you know, I think that just says so much about you. And that shows, you know, how well you live what you promote. And so I just want to give kudos to you for that, because I know, you know, mashallah, you have been a mentor to me without even probably realizing as much, because I don't say that, but I think this is a great time to say that, because this is you know, Ramadan is such a special time to reflect and to introspect. And you're the one person I would say in my life that really has helped me over the years to just take a pause of all, you know, and all the things that have gone on. And you've been there for the last 11 years or more, and you've seen a lot, and you've really helped me to take things down a notch, you know, take the stress down a notch, to come to my own mind and just pause, you know, where, and, you know, more often than I've wanted to admit that that's had to happen. But so you're really good at what you do. And I think the fact that you're starting to share that now is really exciting, because now the rest of the world can benefit from what I have benefited from you personally just by being friends with you. So can you
never told me that before.
I've been thinking about it a lot. You know, we really we've been preparing for this, and also a couple other things we were doing together. So, you know, and I really do get emotional around Ramadan too, because I feel like it's just I want time to give to it, because it's a we're fasting for Allah only, but we get the benefit from that introspection. We get benefit that lasts us the rest of the year or our lives. And you're just such a great teacher in this regard. So I'd like you to, if there's anything else you'd like to say, because I'm talking too much.
I'm trying to be a good listener, Yvonne.
Sorry?
I'm trying to be a better listener these days.
Well,
be a good listener.
I want everybody just to know more about you in that sense, that side of you. I hope I didn't embarrass you, but I think tell us how you got into this mindfulness. Oh, I will tell the Dubai story after you talk. I'm done talking for a while.
You're going to have to refresh my memory. We were so jet lagged. We just went flying. It was like 16,000 steps a day on the Fitbit, but. To your point. You were
into the mindfulness back then, but it wasn't as evident as now. So tell us how you got into it.
It's funny because, again, as we get towards Ramadan, we get very introspective. To your point about generosity and giving, I really do believe, and I have seen it true in many people, that those who are generous, Allah does give them more. And I have made, we've been at times making dua, Ya Allah, we need a little more coming in, it happens, right? And it does. And so I have full faith that if I ask that things happen. I mean,
miracles
consistently. And it happened even today. I'm like, oh my gosh, out of nowhere. And this is like promise to us, that Allah will provide from where you won't even know from. And so I've always said, Ya Allah, please just let the money come through my husband or something, because, I'm busy taking care of everybody and everything else here. So you can do that part on that side. When it comes to mindfulness, I think I've always been a spiritual person. And the funny thing is, I was the oldest of 6 kids, all right, going back now, way back. And in the beginning, my mom and dad, they would go to work, and we lived in the same house as my grandparents. It was their home, and they would take care of me. And so my grandmother, who was like my mom, she passed away when I was only 4. And I was thinking the other day that I think nobody ever checked in with me as a kid, that I was probably, mourning, because I remember walking around outside, walking around the house and feeling that I missed my grandma so much, because she was like my mom. But I think that's where I learned to talk to myself a lot. I was in my own head a lot, but I also learned to be self-reliant. I also learned that, I can turn to God to take care of me. And I think also back in high school, somebody once said, oh, your face is always so placid. I'm like, what's placid? I got to go look it up in the dictionary, It was like still like a lake, or calm like a lake. I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe it's something in my nature.
You are very calm. You have a very
and I had 5 other siblings. I learned to be really calm after a while.
Are you the oldest or youngest?
I am the oldest. My closest sibling is 5 years younger than me. And the farthest sibling out of the 6 of us, he's 14 years younger than me. But now they're all old adults too. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're getting so old. But you're my younger this and that, sister, brother. But really, a few years back, I took a course and I learned about mindfulness and meditation. And I was very hesitant to get into it, because I'm like, oh no, this is haram. Meditation is some other religion or something. And I found that that was the farthest thing from the truth. When we look at the habits of the prophets, I mean, you know, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, we knew that he got the initial revelation when he was in the mountain at Hira, right?
Exactly.
And you know, they talk about Jesus going into the desert for 40 days at a time. They've all taken their retreats. You know, you've got Moses, Musa, you know, the burning bush story. You've got all of them having that they would take time out for themselves to connect with their creator. And in our busy lives, we really have difficulty taking the time to pray, you know, much less going on a retreat. And so there are certain terms, even in Arabic, like muraqabah, for instance, that is about like your internal reflection. And Al-Ghazali, you know, makes reference to this and several others. So I'm seeing the wisdom of our own faith. It's like the missing link of our practice. It's an Islamic meditation that has brought me deeper. So when we're busy, most of the time, like 47% of the time, we're either thinking about the future, we're thinking about the past, we're not really here in the moment. When you practice mindfulness, it's like a mental muscle that you are strengthening, just like you're strengthening your bicep by doing some exercise. And when you can focus on something and stay consistent in it, even if you can't do it consistently forever, but just once in a while, strengthen that muscle and do these practices. They will help you when you're doing your prayer, that you will not fall off track about, okay, which rak'ah am I on? You know, when you are getting like nervous or angry, the little voice inside picks up that my physiology is telling me something. I need to like slow it down. You know, you catch yourself. That's really a mindfulness is about awareness. You catch yourself when people are in the room. There's a dynamic that goes on and you see that there's tension that's building. Something's going on, family, right?
Certain energy that is.
You might choose to intervene and break that cycle. So mindfulness has taught me a lot of these tactics that I think makes for a much more harmonious life.
So let's go back to a few things you said to sort of clarify, because I have some questions. I have tried meditation, and even just listening to yoga. I've never practiced yoga, and I have fallen asleep. I just really
because you're sleep deprived. But yes, I can
deprived. But I have found meditation to be super boring. Just I mean, I think I know I need it because I'm like, I need to do something else. I'm probably the one person who really needs to do meditation. But like you said earlier, you know, I always wondered how Islamic was it, and is it okay? But it sounds to me like what you're saying is that there's a certain type of meditation, Islamic meditation, which I'm going to ask you about in a second. And then that helps to fortify our focus in prayer and in life, and to kind of feel energy, or maybe being more in touch with our intuition or something. Is that right?
You know, there are many different definitions for it, but I would say that that falls in line with my understanding of it. You know, and the thing about mindfulness is it's meant to be non-judgmental. I use it as a tool. I use it to manipulate at times, granted, because I'm seeing dynamics that I don't like, maybe how something is going. I will do something to pull things the opposite way, to basically keep homeostasis, to keep a balance. But
how important is that for our health, right? Homeostasis. We know, like, when you're out of balance, that's when we tend to get sick.
Exactly. You know, so when you know that you are getting too amped up and that this is not good for you, you know, we're just working our taxes. You know, it's like, and you know, those numbers got to all make sense this way, that way, and every way on that Excel sheet. So,
so that's giving me stress just thinking about it.
Sorry.
I need your course, and I'm going to take it. Actually, we're going to talk about that. But can you tell me? And I've put a link on our pages here so that everyone, our Facebook page, if you'd like to look at Sue's course right now, you can see the link that I've just put on, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes. But Islamic meditation, what is that? What does that look like?
It's basically meditation, and you bring yourself specifically closer to Allah. You use gratitude. You use, dua. You can just repeat La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah on an inhale on one part, on your exhale on the other part. Simplest hack in the world, just to bring yourself down a few notches when you're feeling a lot of anxiety, when you're feeling very nervous, is you can activate your parasympathetic system by just making your exhale go longer than your inhale. So simple.
Breathing exercises I've done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that sounds very similar.
When I'm in the front seat of the car and my son is driving and we're like, going through San Francisco and the curves and everything, and they're driving fast and crazy there. Yes, I'm just like holding on to the car, and he's like, Mom, chill out. I will start my breathing exercises because it will calm me down so I can handle it, But
wow.
these things help.
So, okay. Can you tell me, because I'm thinking when you say that and you describe it in that way, it sounds to me a little bit like a Sufi practice. Like when people do dhikr or say Allah's names, it sounds to me kind of like what they do in those kinds of circles. Is it similar to that?
I'm not going to be judgmental about, Sufis or anything. All I know is that I can think about my body, which, we become like robots at times in our lives. We just crank and go and go and go, and we force ourselves to do things that we don't really like to do. And now I see my kids starting to do the same thing, and it kills me when I see that, because it's the pattern that I recognize. And I say, stop and think about and remember what is good in your life. And remember also that although, like taxes are on the horizon, but this too shall pass. It's just another bump in the road. And to visualize, for example, they say oftentimes with even like secular meditation, just imagine your problems like clouds just going by in the sky. They're just problems. They're going to go away. When I'd read years ago back in high school, the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, I don't know if you remember the story.
Vaguely, yeah.
I became, in a sense, I would be able to envision myself as like the drop of water going down the stream over all the pebbles that are there. But nonetheless, I'm just that drop of water on the journey of my life. So making an association like that, you're like, okay, I'm going to get through this. And then you ask Allah, of course, for his help to get you through things. So these are some of the easy hacks that anybody can do. And, I think it's not even just Islamic. Anybody with faith ultimately will turn everything over to, put it not on your own shoulders, but leave it to the shoulders of your creator.
Well, it seems to me like in every faith, pretty much there is some level of higher consciousness that's taught within that faith, to call on God, Allah, to help. And they have creative ways to do that. I know when I can't sleep, I do dhikr. And I should do more of it all day long. But it is my default when I can't sleep, and it works like a charm. Or getting on an airplane. I don't know why, but every time I get on an airplane, it calms me down. And I'm not a nervous flyer, but it's just something that it's like you're starting to go up into the clouds, and it just seems like that very meditative state, and it just really calms me.
And even in Quran, I mean, there is a certain, if you think of so many things in life being all about like frequencies, right?
Yes. Yes.
People vibrate off of each other. Yeah. I mean, it's all atoms and molecules and their vibrations. There's a certain frequency in the recitation of the Quran that aligns with the heart, and the brain and the heart are aligned. When you're feeling something, if you're feeling very sad, when you think about it, and this is going back to mindfulness, how do you feel in your heart? How do you feel in your stomach? You know what those feelings are because you've experienced them. Now, just being aware that the next time you feel your stomach in that certain way, you feel your heart in a certain way, you'll recognize, oh, I'm sad, you know. But then you could also flip it the other way about how do you feel when you've just like landed a great deal or you've done something wonderful and someone is so appreciative and grateful and you've
Yeah.
made their life all sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
You know, you feel in
There's a
your
certain
heart.
energy that you have or you project in whatever state of mind you're in, right? It's almost like I feel like when you are really conscious of that, you can feel someone else's energy as
Yeah.
well. And that's a great tool to have to kind of keep the good energy around you, or to kind of skedaddle from the one that's not.
And this is where you get into the eyes of the heart. And this is what's going to bring our talk now into purity and Ramadan.
Yes, please. That is, say that again. Eye of the heart. This is a really important topic. Yeah.
You know, we have this spiritual and physical need for purity. And that's, again, where we are in alignment, Yvonne, you and I, about staying away from chemicals and hormone disruptors and pollution, and about avoiding feeding the animal cruelty that happens in just like sort of like feedlot, you know, raising of cows, let's say, for example, you know, that we would opt for animals to have a better life. And we're going to purchase, you know, to show our vote. And inshallah, Allah will give us the money that we could afford the higher quality food so that we are able to help those industries. And I mean, I've seen it happen, and alhamdulillah, Allah will take care for these things if we're showing our support for them. And even when it comes to the halal certification, I'm hoping that one day we're going to have the right definition for halal, whereby we're able to tier our labeling and people have some transparency and clarity and understanding what it is that they're getting, to be able to offer animals, you know, a better.
And this is where I think we aligned in an even more significant way in halal, because both of us felt very strongly that it wasn't just about having a label on something that's halal. If it was junk, if it was bad for you, if it was, you know, wait a minute, what's going on with the animal? Why don't we know more about, you know, the tayyib part and how the animal's raised? You and I were both very, very concerned with that sort of backstory of the food. And
because we know it could be so much better. I mean, look at the people that are in Organic Valley, you know, we see what they're able to do. If a lot of conventional, to give people the background, there were a lot of conventional farmers. And for generations, they were using the pesticides, they were using the herbicides, and they were getting cancer, you know, with their families. And then they saw, like, even some of the Amish neighbors were using more organic type of techniques. And it was better for the soil in the long term, they discovered. And so a lot of them now have converted into being organic farmers with that particular brand. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about,
right?
I'm sorry?
It was surprisingly hard for them to get people to convert over to organic. And I remember what Teresa said once. She said that when we asked, well, why was it so difficult? And she said, you know, some of the people just said, well, this is how my father did it, my grandfather did it. And I was thinking, subhanAllah, Allah says this in the Quran, you know, that people will do things just because of what was done before. And so we need to be people of consciousness and awareness and to think. And so those who did really understand the difference, and it was in their hearts to do, they went on to do the organic. It's really fascinating.
Exactly. And that's why, too, you know, so many companies now, they have multiple certifications that they try to get. But if we can like make this industry better than it is, I think we have a common vision where all you need is that one certification, and it identifies that it's all the good, you know, it is non-GMO, it is certified humane, it is just, you know, the top of the line of everything. And that is what halal represents. And it is the most healthy. And it's something that we want to be able to push the industry towards. But it only happens if people are educated and if people are going to support it.
That's what we're always here for. Yes. It always breaks my heart when people say that they would go and get an organic chicken from a store rather than a halal chicken because they would trust it. And I think, well, there is something really wrong here with that picture. We really need to educate people, but we also need to higher the standards in the halal space too. So there's a lot of work to be done. I think that's why we're still here, because we're not done.
There are a lot of very educated people that they are choosing. For example, we're so familiar with chickens, an organic chicken, but what many people don't know is that these days many of those chickens are gassed, asphyxiated, and we're told that we're not to eat dead animals. And when you open those packages, it doesn't smell like it used to smell. And so there are some things that the insiders of the industry know, and I would frankly just not opt for that,
Yeah.
But that's a whole other.
Yeah. We should talk about that another time, because there's a lot of details that I think consumers still need to know. I covered that in the My Halal Kitchen cookbook. I tried to preface why halal was important and why you could make any cuisine halal, but the reasons why, cheese, bread, your meats, why you really need to pay attention to that. Those details were just really significant. And I think there's still a lot of work to be done to educate people on it.
That's why I love the work that you do, and I want people to support you as well, because you don't hear too many people that are really giving education to the people, for them to know these important things. Heavens, there are kids that don't realize that milk comes from cows. We're so disconnected.
That's the Yeah, there's so much in the area of food, really. That's why I think I was at the grocery store today, and to be honest, since I've come back from Turkey, I've really felt like I want to cry at the grocery store, because although we have all this abundance, I cringe at all the packaging. I can't talk to the farmers, who are making it. I just enjoyed my market experience. It was like, it felt alive. I felt it was a conscious experience. And that's sort of what brings me into this topic as well, that, they say, we need to wake up, right? Well, yeah, when you wake up to your food, you really are doing more than just thinking, where does your food come from? There's so much more involved in that mindfulness of eating, because it goes back to the shopping, it goes back to the sourcing, it goes back to, really getting deep on a topic, and then realizing that the quality is definitely more important than the quantity.
Because what are you eating? You might potentially be eating the stress hormones of that creature that can be affecting you and your mental health. And there are some correlations here that should not be ignored.
Great point. And your course is called Stress Less, Live Happily. Yeah. And, when you just said that, it just hit me. Yeah, that the way that the animal is supposed to be sacrificed, it's supposed to be in a calm state.
Yes.
For it to be halal, truly halal. And so you can get scientific on it or not, but I have witnessed it many times. And when that animal is super calm, and the person who's doing the sacrifice is the first time I saw it, I cried. It was such a blessed experience, in the sense that this animal is truly being sacrificed for your nutrition and nothing more than that. It wasn't,
it's permitted.
It's permitted, right? And the calmness that everyone had, the person doing the sacrificing and the animal, it just made me as a consumer of that meat just so careful and so conscious. Like, I have to, really respect this animal and not waste.
Yeah.
And we're not all going to get that experience when we're eating every day. I know that, but it is important to, look at these factors. And you mentioned the stress of the animal and us eating that stress. And I know there's data out there that talks about this. There's science, there's research on it. So we can maybe dig that out. But what you brought up is a really important point. So that maybe that's one of the first things that people can do in Ramadan, is really think about, where really, yes, you're buying halal, but are you really understanding where everything's coming from?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Ani, what are some other hacks you have for us for being a little less stress-free in Ramadan? Because for me, I work a lot in Ramadan just by nature of my halal kitchen. It's a lot of recipes, and I'm certainly not promoting feasting instead of fasting, but it is a time when I get the most requests for recipes, and so I tend to work a lot. And it's hard to fit it all in, that I want to do all the ibadah, all the Quran and everything. And I feel stressed about that, because I know that, it's an opportunity. I have to take this time. Your prayers are so accepted, your Quran is accepted, so your ibadah. This is 30 days out of the year that you don't get in the rest of the year. So how can you help someone like me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, just stress less?
Yes, I think when it comes to Ramadan, less can be better than more when you're really moving the bar forward with the intent that you're going to keep that bar forward even after Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
And self-care all year is very important. Now, sometimes we'll bargain with ourselves. I know I have to push it and, for this period of time, but you kind of know your limits. As long as you are aware, you know where you can push it, but you're going to pay the price. Okay, that's just real life. But when you can, you have to give yourself, even if it's just that 15-minute cup of tea or coffee in the morning, to look outside, see the sun. Even here in Chicago, we don't always see the sun too much, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see the sticks on the trees, but we'll be amazed at how Allah has created beauty in everything.
Stopping to smell the roses. So
Exactly. Speak, right? But make yourself do it. And specifically in Ramadan, if you're racing and racing because you think that, every letter that you're going to read is going to benefit you so much more, Allah knows best, how much it will, but at the same time, what's going to be left of you for, I'll use the example. So you read a lot of Quran in Ramadan, but then you're going to snap at your family members, you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, or, you're going to have to pay the price someplace. It's best to be deliberate. And this is why the days before Ramadan, these days are so very critical, to just take a few moments to say, how do I want to be transformed this Ramadan?
I love that.
What will I want to gain traction in that will leave me a better person, closer in my relationship with Allah? And it's not so much how much you're going to do. It's going to be, who will you become?
Who will you become at the end of these 30 days?
And ask for that transformation, because these are the days to make that ask.
I absolutely love that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody summarize it like that. Because I always stressed about this. I'm supposed to get better internally, like it's all this introspection, and sort of
it's
like
too general. You need a specific. You need a specific ask.
Yeah. You're right. Even on our du'as are supposed to be very clear. Allah answers us when we are not wishy-washy. We are pretty clear. I mean, He answers us many ways. Allahu Alam.
Ask big.
Ask big, but ask clear. And so that, I think I'm going to really take that out. So then, as a result of it, you sort of naturally just become closer with Allah, because you trust. Yes, that's the other part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's letting control go.
It's a testimony to your faith.
Yeah. That's a pretty deep lesson. So the practical person in me says, okay, well, can you tell me how to do that? How what's a good example of it, like in a day? Just a general example.
Benjamin Franklin said, early to bed, early to rise, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that many years passed, and I mean, everything that I advocate, everything I talk about comes from experience, and most of it is crash and burn experience.
Mm-hmm.
I found out the hard way how not to do things. Now I'm figuring out how to do things. So many things I've heard, like, success, this and that. You're supposed to wake up early so that by 8 o'clock in the morning, you've got all your big 3 things to do done, right? And I'm just like, what? At midnight, I'm just getting to bed, or at 1 o'clock, I'm getting to bed because I was up late doing this and that. I'm a writer, and so I write best when the house is quiet. I'm generally not a morning person, but subhanAllah, I said this Ramadan, I want to get up. Now the whole world is hearing this, heaven help me. I want to get up before suhoor and make that my main meal, because we do like big breakfasts in my house, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the benefits of not having to go to school every day anymore. and then stay up. And because I take care of my grandson also these days, Monday through Friday, he just turned 2, when he goes down for a nap, I'm going to take that initial part of time, at least for a nap. And if I've got things to do, I'll give myself 20 minutes minimum.
Naps are awesome. I do them.
Yes. He was down for 3.5 hours today, which was great because honestly, for the first 2 hours he was sleeping, I was busy working on things and having meetings today, right?
Right.
But I was able, subhanAllah, because he kept sleeping, I was able to get in a little bit of a nap. So that's the idea. And then have a rather small, I'll have to cook for the whole family because they want to feast, right, as usual. But I'll have myself a rather smallish iftar. And then get myself to bed within like an hour and a half, perhaps an hour, after it's Isha. So I get enough sleep.
Sometimes all this scheduling and compartmentalizing things daily, it adds to my stress, to be honest. Like I feel like if I just follow the prayer schedule, then I'm better. But when I just follow like a block of time, I have to do this and this, it stresses me more.
In my planner, I will just put the 3 things. I mean, I'm doing 50,000 things in the day, but the 3 things are the things that I really need to get done today. And, if it doesn't get done and I've just tried my best, okay, it goes into tomorrow, but don't have too many tomorrows, Right. Anyway, I related this idea of what I want to do with my schedule to my son, and thinking I'm going to be all alone as I usually am and doing things. And he said, Mama, I want to do the same thing. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I have an ally.
You have an ally.
So now I'll have somebody to talk to with my coffee at 4:00 in the morning. All right.
Will you have coffee? That's the question. Will you have coffee in Ramadan?
If I have coffee, it'll be at the suhoor and then stay up. Now, oftentimes I run on coffee. But again, we know if you have it in the evening, it's going to, when you sleep, you won't get into the deep sleep. So you'll have more efficient sleep if you only have that coffee earlier in the day. And even as it is now, after 2:00, I will not have caffeinated coffee. I might have a little tea after dinner, but no caffeinated coffee, so that I'm able to get the quality of sleep. And they say the sleep you get before midnight is worth so much more. I've tracked it. It's absolutely true. I feel the difference.
You have really been an example to me, because we WhatsApp each other sometimes, and you're like very strict about your bedtime. And I'm like, I wish I could do that. And I think I need to change that and get on a better schedule. I think I would probably feel better. And I don't drink coffee in the evening anymore, ever since I realized like it's bad for your adrenals and stuff. You can't burn out on coffee, not have too much of that. So, certain things.
I love the taste of coffee so much. But what I found is that even a good quality decaf, organic decaf, and you should have organic because pesticides, so many pesticides are sprayed on.
Sure, definitely.
But an organic decaf has all of the polyphenols, all of the antioxidant benefits of regular caffeinated coffee. So who needs the caffeine? You get the benefit of those qualities that you want from dark chocolate and coffee, right?
That's true. I actually think I was better off in Turkey because I had the tea instead of coffee. And I when I came back, I started coffee again. I think it's just a culture thing. It's like when you're there, the tea is the thing. And it just didn't give me the nerves that the coffee does here. So, but it's hard to keep up because there's nobody to drink it with. There's no there's no culture here to do that, and you can't make a big pot for yourself all the time, be on the stove all day long. So there's some interesting things. Life is such a journey, and it's all these little things that we need to sort of be mindful of and edit
and share,
and share. And I think that being your friend, you've allowed me to be vulnerable and to talk about things that I really want to fix or do, and you're just so gentle in your suggestions, which I appreciate, because sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves and we can think that we're so off, but really you give such simple suggestions for tweaking things here and there, and they do make a big difference. So
you have to be kind to yourself too. If we expect Allah to be forgiving of us, we have to be forgiving of other people. And sometimes we have to start by being forgiving to ourselves. And I have a suggestion for you.
Okay.
If you want me to be the bug in your ear every other day in Ramadan, from what I understand, I've teamed up with the Muraqabah app, folks, and so I've recorded about 15 guided practice meditations. Perfect. They're very brief, anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes long, generally. And so they're getting a waiting list for when they do launch the app, but through Ramadan, you're going to be able to get some free guided practice meditations. And so you would go to www.muraqabah, it's M-U-R,
I'm putting the link.
A-Q-A-B-A, muraqabah.app, A-P-P.
Yeah.
And you can sign up to be on the waiting list, and they will email you in Ramadan some recordings that you can listen to my voice talking about a variety of topics.
And how calming your voice is. So.
And just they're quick, and that's all you need. Like meditation doesn't have to be 1 hour sitting going om at all,
Thanks for saying that.
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Thanks for saying that, because I go overwhelmed, but I'm like, I don't have time. It's such an irony. I don't have time to sit.
but like I say, it's just like you're squeezing that brain muscle. Can you stay focused, for 2 minutes,
I think social media has warped our brains in some sense of like in the focus area. I mean, I think the lack of focus must be connected to that. So do you do any detoxing for social media?
To tell you the truth, I've done the research, and the human attention span has not changed.
Really?
I was surprised myself. That's a fallacy.
Good news.
We think that devices have made I'm such a nerd, right? Always researching stuff, but I love it. Because we think that the devices have made us and our kids like have shorter attention spans, but it's not the truth. What has happened is that we have decision fatigue. We make more decisions now. We are given more options and choices of every kind unimaginable, so that we get tired of having to think so much, because it takes a lot of energy to think.
Yes, it does. It's almost like, sometimes when I get overloaded, I honestly think of my brain as a USB, and I'm like, there can't possibly be one more thing that can fit in here until I get rid of other stuff.
And that's where Dhikr helps. When you when you can't sleep at night, your brain is like rolling on something. You need to kind of pull the curtain down on your brain waves and say, I'm just going to focus. And the natural rhythm and the cadence of you doing your Dhikr will calm you down and let you sleep. You get that junk out of the head.
It helps to kind of clear out some space somehow. And then in the morning, I can say, there are certain things I really don't have to do. They're not really important, or they don't fit in with certain goals or whatever. And then it kind of, the clarity comes, I think, is probably the better word. The clarity comes, because sometimes we can just overload ourselves to be busy, but not necessarily productive. And we are a society of people who think we need to be busy 24/7.
And are you happy? Also, I mean, this whole last year, I even realized it myself, with COVID, I've been locked in my house an awful lot. I've hardly gone out at all. And the crazy thing is I realized too, like, when's the last time I dressed up? Well, I don't have anywhere I'm going to be able to go, not to a restaurant, not to a theater, so we don't dress up. We just kind of stay in our grungies all the time. So, once in a while, fix yourself up and put on a party dress, even though if you're not going to a party. That's one of my hacks that I'll talk about in my course too, is that you do something like that and you naturally feel better.
Oh yeah. And like, working from home, you have to. I mean, I think that's a habit I really have gotten good at over the years, is that if I don't dress up, I'm not productive. I cannot work in pajamas. There's no way I would feel like, what is going on here? You have to, sort of pretend you're going to the office, but the office is home, and it really helps.
I put on a nice top, but I'll wear sweatpants underneath, But, we had the Eastern Education Forum last weekend. And so usually it's a live event that we do in Chicago for 3 days. This was just Saturday and Sunday. But I said, usually, since we've got a nice banquet with entertainment and awards, I'll dress fancy for that. But as it was, I said, it's all online, and I have 2 presentations that I have to do, teaching with teachers and principals and parents. One of them was on mindfulness also. But I put on my good clothes for that. And my husband said, where did you get that from? I'm like, hey, I'm going to education forum, but we didn't have this last year. Yeah. So
tell us more about your course before we go, because this is something you're offering to people. It's a one-time fee, and it's a really great price.
It's for busy people. Yeah, it's a mini course. It's only going to take a few hours, and it was done that way by design because I have a lot of research. I can go on and on about the stuff that I'm into, but I wanted to create something. It's also my first time making a mini course, but I wanted to be able to share with what has worked for me. And I've got the research that backs it up too. So it's really kind of designed for busy moms, I guess, is who I had in mind when I was creating it, because they're always so busy, especially with the kids home a lot these days, right? But you need to still take care of yourself. And so there are some specific strategies that I have found that have been very effective for me. And so I just popped them into a mini course. So you'll have to check it out. I'll give you the link.
I'm putting the link up for everybody to, and the course is called Stress Less.
Less. I don't say stress-free. I mean, life has its stressors. That's the reality. You can't run away from it.
That was first,
but you don't have to.
That was what I first wrote, because when I think of stress, I think of stress-free when people are talking about reduction of stress. But that can't possibly be, we'll never live lives of no stress.
And we don't want it to be like that. I've got a son, inshallah, he's getting married soon, and that's stressful, but it's a happy stress. That's eustress, as they call it, rather than distress, right? And at the same time, when we are looking at the plants that are raised in a nursery versus plants that are raised outdoors, with the wind and the rain, what's going to be more hardy? At the end of the day, we need to be adaptable. We need to have resilience. And so these are the things. We really don't want it to be stressful. We want it to be less stress, not stress.
Unshakable, right?
Yeah.
We are, we should
like a rock.
Like a rock or a date palm, right?
Yep. And that tree is still standing no matter what.
Standing. Yeah, that's the thing. I think what I have learned over the years is that, of course, we try to mitigate as much trauma, drama, chaos in our lives as possible. But Allah tests us with things that, in His own hikmah, in His own wisdom, and we sometimes don't see the reasonings for that until much later.
Right.
And if we can pass those tests, we end up a lot stronger, a lot happier, a lot more introspective, wiser,
compassionate.
Going forward after that, you can really go into this life with more fortitude because you've been there, you've experienced that, and you do come out more unshakable than before. So
it's an irony, isn't it? You come out with more fortitude, but you also come out softer for understanding.
I agree. I totally agree. Not everybody, some people really do find bitterness in situations, but I feel that is something that only eats the person alive. It doesn't.
I agree. It's negative, and they don't see the gratitude. They don't have the gratitude. They don't see the benefit in perhaps what was given. Another quick story, case in point, is when my mom passed away, my dad, it was a tragedy. My youngest brother was only 11 years old when my mother passed away, and she was only 54. And here we had 6 kids in the family. And lucky for me, I was already out the door and I was married. But in retrospect, my dad, who had always been like the disciplinarian, I'm going to just go provide, and your mother takes care of everything at the house. We really didn't like my dad, in so many ways. He and I, especially being the eldest, we butted heads all the time. But it was after my mom passed away that my dad grew a heart. Wow. My siblings and him, they became very, very close. And he had to become soft. And before my mom passed away, she said, listen to the kids. And before she passed away, her last words, pray.
Wow.
So, everything comes from Allah. It's part of the plan, and we have to roll with it sometimes. And we don't understand it sometimes, and it hurts like heck. But we have to trust that there's something good in it, and we just got to roll with what's given to us at times. It's okay.
I totally agree. I think this year has been very hard for a lot of people, but I keep hearing stories of resilience in people who have been able to somehow, become mindful, become more conscious of things. It's always people that have been more introspective. and they've come up with different business ideas, or they're, more focused. And, I myself feel like the direction of things are going so much better than I could have imagined even a year or so ago.
Yeah.
So I think I'm at a point also where I can just accept and appreciate what you're doing more than ever before, because I get it. I think hard times just kind of make you
grow.
Make you grow and make you kind of say, I get why we need to stop, slow down, and because we're not in control.
Yes.
That's the thing. We are not in control. As much as we like to control, we aren't. But if we stop and think about it, and things always have a way of working out as well. And it's, Muslim is supposed to have an optimistic attitude, right? And so, it's a good energy thing. So
yeah. So most of what we worry about never comes to fruition anyway. Yeah. And if it happens, well, then you deal with it.
Right.
Let's not live our lives in fear. Put yourself out there, do the work, and leave the results to what our Creator wants to have happen with it. But we do the work. We work hard.
That last sentence you just said, I think you have told me that personally many, many times. And you saying that now just took me back to other moments where you've said that to me. Nothing you can do about it until it happens, if it happens, and then you deal with it. And no one ever really said that to me before. There's always this worry and this fear, and you really taught me to be in the moment. And that's a really powerful tool.
Well, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity to share.
Well, it's been a heartfelt conversation. I'm so glad we did this. Thank you.
Live next time.
I just want to encourage everyone to please check out Susan's website, susanlabadi.com, the Muraqabah app she talked about, but also her course. I mean, it's a short course. It's not going to take you too long, a few hours. It's inexpensive at $19.99. I mean, that's the cost. And you can listen. Can they listen to it over and over when they watch it? Okay, awesome. So great. I'm so proud of you for all that you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Likewise, my friend, you do too. And I'm so glad we're here. I have to watch this again to get all those tidbits of those jewels that you spoke of. And I'll do a recap of this interview on my website so people can kind of get the summary and of course watch it. But please, all of you watching, please, if you've liked this, share this video with your friends. Follow Susan on her Instagram page. She's pretty active there. And anything else, Sue, that you want people to know?
The Muraqabah app. And I'll come into your ear every other day, if you want me, that'll be there.
Sure.
Before you fall asleep at night, if you want help falling asleep, put it on.
Well, I think I'm going to be very intentional this Ramadan, and the two things on my list to put in my ear and in my vision are your course and your app. And also I'll be waiting for all your WhatsApp messages.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you so much again. And thanks everybody for watching.
Happy Ramadan.
Yeah, if there are any questions, people can you can just add the comments and we'll continue to answer them. So thank you everyone for watching. Take care. Good night, Sue. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Take care.
Bye.